And we are live. Just doing our space.
Our live. Please do not swear.
Seatbelts are already buckled. We are just laughing, everybody, as Ruth was very kindly doing our NASA's countdown this morning. Good morning, everybody. Wonderful to see you. We are delighted to have some new faces, as well as some really old friendly faces who've been part of our series over the last few months. For those of you who haven't joined us before, Be Career Confident was set up mid part of last year, so as a collaborative problem, there you are, Ruth, project between Ruth and I to provide guidance, support, discussion, education around the world of careers. And we are delighted to be able to invite some specialists throughout the series. You'll see these people pop up every now and then. We had an awesome session with Julia last year, and we are so excited to welcome her back. So Julia, over to you. Introduce yourself just quickly, will you?
So for those of you who know me, Julia Doherty from now Adventure Geek, which is a walk-in and adventure club. I love what I do. It's absolutely brilliant. But background is obviously recruitment. Worked in the world of recruitment for the last, shall I say 20 years, 25 years, something like that. Oh my God, I feel really old. And then morphed into the world of social media, digital marketing. And now I run another company called Adventure Geek, which is life's good.
You are so funny. You say you feel old, whereas actually you look like the teenager amongst us this morning with your uber trendy background and your headphones and your,
We just did a B&I thing this morning, and the get to know you question was, what was the first film you ever saw in the cinema? And somebody said Harry Potter, and I thought, oh my God, I feel so old.
Oh my God.
Dear.
I want to have that conversation.
Yeah, exactly. Can we do that first? Anyway, we are really pleased to have you all here joining us this morning as we're talking about our professional identity. So it's something that I think lots of us are feeling is coming to question a little bit more. There we are. I'm sorry, I've got to make a note to that. Our first date, I went to ET with my husband. There you are. Please, folks, whilst we're talking today, could you please put what your first film is? Whilst we're on it, let's see them. Come on, let's do it. It's a rainy Thursday here in South Northampton, so we need some cheering up. So we're talking about identity, our professional identity. What happens to it when we've lost it? What happens when it changes? So we're not going to be having a really down and out discussion going, oh, it's all miserable. We will be facing some raw honesties, as we always do. That's the purpose of this, is to say, this is the truth. This is where potentially might need some development, need some encouragement. So over to you two. Ruth.
Over to us two. Go for it, Ruth.
Well, for me, and I wanted us to, obviously we would have Julia on every blooming month probably, because for me, I just like really smiley, engaging people, so it's like brilliant. And you'll notice that with our Crowdcast, we get people who are really engaging and energetic. But specifically, we wanted to bring Julia back because, as you've alluded, you have had 3 different careers that I know of. There could be other things that are looming around as the gremlins.
She's smiling, which is worrying. In another life, I was.
Yes, absolutely. So you have evolved, and to the outside world, people who see you can see that it's been. I'm going to be honest. I admire you for what you've done. It looks seamless. You were very successful within the recruitment industry. You then became, my goodness, a leading light in social media within recruitment and marketing. And as somebody's already put on here, was known as for giraffes farts. Yeah, anybody wants to know about that, just email us and we'll explain that a little bit more. And you did that with energy and passion and love, and that was consistent. And then you have now got an amazing venture, which is, Adventure Geek and walking, and very different. So from the outside world, this all looks like you have been in control, taken control of your professional identity, and it has been absolutely amazing. Has that been?
Do you know, you said that actually there was before recruitment, because I didn't get into recruitment until I was 26.
Okay.
It's actually quite old. So you probably don't know the backstory, but before I did, it's like I've gone a full circle. So before I did recruitment, I was actually a gym instructor, and I used to teach. I had classes and aerobics and everything else like that. And I was I used to do trampolining for the county. And then I had an accident and I broke my back.
Oh.
And I was in traction for 6 months. And I was told that, I couldn't do sports ever again. And that was like one career gone. And that's when I thought, okay, I needed to kick myself at the rear end after about 6 months of being in hospital beds and all the rest of it. I had to reinvent myself to do something completely different. And I job hopped, but I really loved the people side of things. And I think that's a constant thing with all the things that I've done. And so that was a transition. I ended up in recruitment by accident, as a lot of recruiters do. It's not something you strive to go towards. But I couldn't think of a better job. I absolutely loved working in the world of recruitment. Yeah, and the transition came from recruitment into Green Umbrella, which was out of a passion for the outdoors again. Mm-hmm. So obviously I wanted to buy this trailer tent, and I know you've all heard that story before, which is how Green Umbrella Marketing came around. And sold the recruitment agency, and there was a transition there. So there was probably about 2 years of me doing both. And for those of you who were networking with me at the time, I would say, it's Julia from Ethos Recruitment / Green Umbrella. And I would do the two things. So I was known as the Slash for about a year. And then I eventually sold the recruitment agency and became, the digital marketing side of things full on. So, transitions, but it's just happened naturally.
And has it always been that positive? You've been in control. You've known where you wanted to go, because this is how it looks like to everybody. And there's people out there at the moment that their industry could be decimated and they've got to look for another job. So they're going through that transition, or they're actually in a job that they have lost their passion for. From the outside world, it looks very smooth of what you did. Was it smooth? Did you have techniques that you were just like, this is it, I'm organized, I know what I'm doing? Or were there little gremlins and things that came about?
I think I did it naturally, but the gremlins that are inside your mind is you're sort of losing something. It's like your comfort. If you go from one industry to another, I was lucky with regards to going from recruitment to digital marketing. And the way I found my feet with digital marketing is I specialised in recruitment. Mm-hmm. So I had that transition. So I didn't lose the recruitment side, and I felt comfortable with that transition. One thing I did lose when I went from Green Umbrella to Adventure Geek, there wasn't really that transition. And I went through 6 months of, to be honest, I thought I was depressed. And I didn't understand it, because I was doing this job that I absolutely loved. I'm taking people on all these adventures, and I absolutely loved it. But, I was quite high up in the world of digital marketing and social media. And in the end, my husband said to me, Julia, you need to go and see a doctor. This is just not you. As you know, I'm quite normally bouncy and everything else. And to the outside world, I was, because I was living the dream. But inside, I didn't feel like that at all. And it was the doctor that told me that I had an identity problem. It was some sort of syndrome, because I was going through this grieving process of losing the digital marketing. I wasn't that anymore. I wasn't that person anymore. So going from recruitment to digital marketing, that was a nice transition, because I stayed within the industry and I stayed with the people that I knew. I mean, I've known you, Charlotte, for how many years?
Got a long... 10, 11 years.
Is that how long it's been? I thought it'd been longer than that. But
11, 12 years. Well, when you saw, we were giggling, weren't we, yesterday, as my son appeared on the screen, and you were like, oh my God, the last time I saw him, he was in a Moses basket on the floor, and here we are, nearly as tall as me.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. So that was so transitioning and dealing with the grief of losing the industry,
and the grief of losing that professional identity, your community. So you were physically doing the job that you really enjoyed, but the community and who you'd become, you'd sort of really stepped out. It sounds like from recruitment into marketing, the same community was there, but marketing into Adventure Geek, the community totally changed.
I had to build it. So
All
I
over again. And I
had to
think
build the community, yeah.
and I
The
think
other thing,
that,
sorry, Ruth, go
and
for it.
I think that is what will resonate with a lot of people, of this, our professional identity that we lose is, I see it and can see it in, you know, things that have happened to me, of we move into a different community, or we are an individual and then we become a parent. We are a parent and then we come into a career. And there's all of these different things that change. The core of who we are stays the same. We're still the same individuals, but our communities and how we move in different circles and environment, that can change us. And I think that can affect our professional identity. Would you agree, Carla?
Absolutely. Do you know, I was seeing, obviously, I was part of team for quite a few years, for probably 6 or 7 years. And suddenly I've been taken away from that. And everyone's commenting on stuff on LinkedIn, and I felt like I wasn't part of that anymore. So should I comment or not? And, you know, and you feel like your friends have been taken away. I know that sounds horrible.
No, I think it's very real.
Can we equate that to retirement as well? Because obviously we've talked here about, you know, industries being decimated, so the retail and hospitality, you know, they're lifestyles, aren't they, in the retail and hospitality? You don't go into hospitality because, you know, one, for the money, or two, because you want to be able to have wee weekends. You go into it because it's a lifestyle and it's a community, and you are part of that. And I think the bit that, Julia, you said is you became, particularly with Green Umbrella, this was you were held in high esteem in the community and in the industry for your skill, your reputation, you know, everything. And when that's taken away, who are you known as? And I think that retirement element, particularly if you've been a big fish and suddenly you're retired, you know, don't think that the youngsters coming up behind you, you know, they're going to go, goody, they've gone, aren't they?
Yeah.
But then suddenly you feel demoted, don't you? You go, well, I was the most senior and now I'm suddenly granny, or I'm suddenly grandpa, or I'm suddenly just this, without that. And I think that community again around you, because everybody around the country knew who you were for Green Umbrella.
Yeah.
Didn't they?
But
And
now
suddenly,
I'm a new industry and everybody knows me within that industry now. And that took a while to build. There's one thing I'm good at is building communities, but it took me a long while to build. Can I just say that I've just finished a brilliant book called The Happiness Equation. And there's a whole section in that about retirement and why people should not retire.
Yeah.
You should not necessarily not retire from a job, but you should always have a purpose.
Yeah.
It's called an icky something or other. I can't remember, icky key or something like that. But yeah, people should always have a purpose in life. And you need to find your purpose. If you haven't got a purpose, that's the first thing that you need to do. So The Happiness Equation, brilliant book.
Happiness Equation, I'm going to write down. That, I'll put that in the chat for everybody in a minute. And I think that drifting bit.
And Michelle's already copied it in. So we've got our little community here. Just going
Love
back
our book club.
That's another good book.
Yeah.
Just going back to the community and you know, the professional identity within careers as well. I think that's going to be quite apparent with people in the hospitality and the leisure industry, because there will be people who are in the top of their game in hospitality and maybe now thinking, do you know what, I can't do this again. This is, you know, it's been a hell of a year and maybe I need to change. I'm ready for the change. So in their own mind, they've decided I found something else, but their community will totally be lost because they won't be in the hospitality industry anymore. So they can start to feel a little bit like that. Could be also like with graduates as well, couldn't it? Once you've, I know university is very different at the moment, but in normal terms, you've had your community, you've known your purpose when you've spent 3-4 years at university, and then suddenly you move into a totally different environment and you've lost that connection and that community, and you have to build that back up again.
I think sometimes you're there quite low, and all you can see is the negative, as in you've lost something.
Yeah.
And I think probably when you need somebody, a mentor, a coach, or someone like that you can just talk things through. And I think that's really important, is to have somebody that can sort of pull you in the right direction.
Yeah.
So I think that change element's a really interesting one, Ruth, because obviously, we're talking here about where a change of identity has almost been forced on us, aren't we? We're saying something's happened, age and stage, or the market's changed, or COVID's happened, and that's enforced a change. It's a very different thing when actually we've decided to change it, because there's still an element of grieving, isn't there? Because what we wanted isn't quite what, isn't, or what we expected something might be, hasn't been that. And when we were planning it and discussing it, we were looking at, whether someone's gone into an industry and then fallen out of love of an industry, but they've said, I've been here for, I've been in this industry for 40 years. How do I change? It's just not what I want to do. And there will feel that sadness, won't there? And Julie, you hit on it, that is exactly where you need that group of people around you to help you see the clarity to move forward.
Yeah.
But, and I think that kind of reskilling bit's quite an interesting one, isn't it? And how do we deal with ourselves once we've decided to change our identity, and how do we move that forward?
I think that the first stage is looking at what you want in life. And sometimes you think you want things that you don't really want. It's what your heart really wants. Does that make sense? Some people just don't understand, why on earth would I want to start a whole new business from scratch when another business was so successful? They just don't get it. But I fell out of love with the industry. That's what happened for me. And I just think, perhaps some people stay in the job for the wrong reasons. And
to actually face a discomfort for a longer term positive afterwards.
Yeah,
and we've seen it. We've seen it, haven't we, with the graduates? Actually, Ruth, you're right. Of training for something, going into something, and then saying, actually, I don't want to be an engineer. It's not what I thought it was going to be. And that's tough. If you've made, or medicine, you've made the investment of time, finances, you've gone into it and actually said, this isn't the right home for me, I need to change. You've got a fair amount of justifying it to the people around you, haven't you? As well as justifying it to yourself.
But that's also your identity. If you've got 3 years of engineering, an engineering degree, people think of you as an engineer. That's what you are, that's your core. So how do you then tell people around you that really isn't what you want to do? Yeah. That is so hard.
And I think, I don't know what it is, but it does seem to be that people feel embarrassed about that. Embarrassed maybe to say it wasn't quite right for me, Julia, I think about you as you moved into something. I can completely see that from an outsider saying, but you have a really successful business, you've gone through, young kids, everything's sorted, you've got such a great reputation, everything's great, but that hunger in you to keep moving and keep progressing and keep moving forward. But that's because you've got a strong sense of purpose, haven't you?
Yeah,
I think about the other day saying that purpose is so central, isn't it?
Yeah. Also, for me, I like the challenge. So once it gets easy, I must admit, when I had Green Umbrella, I felt redundant in my own business. It was ticking along quite well without me, and I had no purpose. I didn't need to be there. And I remember sitting on the plane thinking, oh God, I'm going to be really busy when I get back into the office on Monday. Got into the office on Monday, and no crossover, no one needed me for anything. And everyone's thinking, yeah, that's the place you should be. That's perfect. It's like, but I didn't feel like that at all.
Because where's then the challenge? So you've got there, but what are you going to do now?
Yeah, exactly. So I start right again from scratch. And I'm just at the point now, apart from COVID hitting, obviously, just at the point now where, the Venture Geek is starting to make some money. I'm loving it. I've got a really good community, and it's great. Yeah, I'm in a good place.
But actually, after the back of this, everyone's going to realise, as Ruth, you did, didn't you? You implemented your Friday walking meetings, because actually the world, isn't it? And this is where all of us, we said we weren't going to have a really, it wasn't all going to be doom and gloom, but actually it's really exciting, this change that we've all had in our identity, isn't it? And if we put that spin on it, we're not limited to geographical boundaries anymore. We're not limited to, going to something that we think is really interesting from a CPD point of view, but the meeting's being run out of Scotland. We're not limited anymore. But likewise, how we're employed and our office space and everything's changed. So actually, Julia, for you, what an opportunity. Off the back of this.
Till we're out of lockdown, I'd be surprised. I mean, I had to reinvent myself a little bit because obviously I was a walking club in adventures. We can't walk and we can't go on adventures. So I had to look at monetizing and do a residual income. So I had to look at other ways of monetizing the business, which we have done, which forced me into that direction. But I think when we come out of this, everybody's going to need a break. Everyone's going to need a bit of a challenge. And the walking is brilliant. Everyone's out walking at the moment. I've got so many people on my sunrise challenge at the moment.
Have you?
Doing a walk, taking a photo every day.
Oh, I love it.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And also, as you've just been talking, I think this really links in. Last week we were talking about purpose, and I think everybody else's purpose when we come out of this will be different, and that will link very nicely into their professional identity, because like you say, they are in that whole link of, and you're right, Charlotte, for me, somebody said last week, oh yeah, we're going to get conference, this conference is going to be on by the end of the year, and I just sat there and went, I'm expected to be really excited about this, and I'm not. Because I'm really not sure that I want to do that, because I think I might have got a bit insular in my own thing of, right, I can make the decision now of the stuff that I want to do. So for 4 hours, do I want to get in my car and go and physically do this whole networking thing? No, I think I want to drive half an hour, meet somebody I work with, and have a 2-hour walk and have a chat.
Yeah.
And that's
Absolutely.
It's moved, hasn't it? I think, but everybody's going to be different. There is going to be people who are desperate to get out and get into those big group circles.
Yeah.
I miss it terribly.
Do you?
Yeah, I absolutely do. So the reason I started this Sunrise Challenge Walk is second lockdown. That was November?
Yeah.
For some reason, I don't know why, but I'd get up in the morning, do my morning routine, meditation, journaling, all the rest of it. Then I'd sit on YouTube, just watching YouTube videos. And before I knew it, it was time to sort of crack on work, and I'd miss my morning walks. And that went on until January. And I just didn't, everyone thought I was doing stuff, but I actually wasn't. So I set my goals and I said, right, I'm going to start this Sunrise Challenge because I like a challenge, but I knew it would force me to be accountable. If I do it publicly online, I know I will get out and do it. Yeah, so I haven't missed a day yet since January, and other people are on board and doing it as well. So
there's some great photos.
Yeah, there are some great photos.
Some lovely photos.
I only put them on my personal stuff, not every day.
There's other people doing it in our network that we're all connected to, and I can see them doing it, and they've got some really lovely stuff.
Yeah, I'll put the link in so anyone wants to join a Sunrise Challenge. Get out in the morning. You don't have to see the sunrise, just get out in the morning. We don't always have a sunrise.
We haven't had a view for a view, here it's absolutely pitch black.
It was going for a week, and it was like, where's the frigging sun? So I changed it to morning walk.
I love it. If that enters, everybody's identity is shifting at the moment. Everybody's identity is changing. And we were even saying this morning, weren't we, with the change of the schools going back, again, being bumped further back. These people who are, used to just being known for one thing are suddenly, kids coming to meetings being stretched in all different ways. And there's the line between the identities is being muddied, isn't it? And actually, for the people who really like this complete split, this is who I am at work, this is who I am at home, this is who I am with my family, and it's all molding into one. And so even if you say, do you know what, I'm fine with it, my identity is short, everybody's having to kind of work their way through this period, and it's tricky, isn't it? And different weeks we feel different things about it. This sounds fab. That Sunrise Challenge, that doesn't surprise me. Tally will be there, won't you, Tally? Posting pictures before the sun's even come up, challenging everyone else to do the pre-sunrise challenge.
Sometimes the difficulty is just taking one photo, choosing one photo, because you've had some amazing sunrises lately.
Yeah.
So Ikigai is that. Tracy, thanks for that. I couldn't remember what I knew it was Icky something, but yeah, Ikigai is all about having purpose, and that's part of that happiness equation book. Awesome book.
I think that is the key thing. And Stuart's put in here about pilots. You know, a lot of pilots are looking for new roles. They've got no, you know, that this is an absolute total change for them. They're going to try and have a new career with a totally different lifestyle and no traveling. So I think, you know, for people who are being forced, because I think there's two elements here. There's the being forced to change your professional identity because you loved your job but it's been taken away from you. The key thing for me and what I've heard us all talk about today is to take that step back and look at your purpose, look at what you enjoy doing, what's core to you, and then you can move on and start exploring different types of roles that you can do. And then, like we say, those people that their identity is being pulled, and you know, they are wanting to make that change themselves. It isn't a forced issue, that actually now they are at home more and they don't want to be this city professional. They want to spend more time at home with family, in the outdoors, and they want to change their professional identity, but they've been known, like you said, Julia, as being this one person, and they want to start changing it and changing their identity. Again, I think it's been really key what you said about going back to purpose. What do I want my purpose to be now, to drive me forward? And I think once you can start exploring that and making that clear, that really is that stepping stone, isn't it, for then tackling your professional identity.
I think there are two elements to it. So purpose is the first element and community is the second. So once you've decided what your purpose is and where you want to be and what you want to do, and you might need some help deciding that with someone like a business coach or career coach, you then need to build that community. So, you know, joining groups and getting involved with conferences and online stuff of the community where you want to be.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Julia, how do you find, how for you, what's your, where do you go back to working what your purpose is? Because we did talk about that last week. I'd be really interested to hear from you. How do you work out your direction? Have you got stuff that helps you work out what your aim is? What do you want to achieve in your life? How do you figure that out?
So the first place that I started is another book. I'm a big reader. I read a book called Living Forward, and Lynn Rose is in the chat as well, and I know she's read it. And one of the first things that he gets you to do in that book is to write your own eulogy, which I know sounds depressing, and I guarantee you'll have a few tears when you're actually going through this process. But he then talks about capital accounts or life accounts. So you decide what the 10 key things within your life that are the most important. So it might be surprising work usually comes down towards the bottom. So for me, it was things like, you know, family, close friends, adventure is really important for me. And then when someone asks you to do something, it's really easy to say, does that fit into my plan? If it doesn't, it's easy to say no.
Yeah.
If you haven't got any sort of structure with where you're going in life, you're just drifting. You need that compass to point you in the right direction. It just helps you make decisions a bit more easier. So yeah, Living Forward. There you go. Lynn's put the link in there. It's a brilliant book. Hopefully Lynn will agree that that's a good book. But yeah, so put in your life accounts, and that just helps you make decisions, whether something that someone asks of you or a decision, a career decision or something like that you're going to make, does that fit with your plan? And I review my plan 3 times a year.
Wow.
Just to check in to see how you're doing with it.
I didn't hear that, sorry.
Sorry, just to check in to see how you're doing, whether you're close to what your plan is.
Yeah, and within it I set goals and stuff like that as well. I'm a big goals fan. I don't know what it is about me that likes challenges. I just push myself sometimes too much, but yeah.
No, that's super helpful. Really, I think that's a really nice, what, you know, we talk about it, don't we? And we talk about it in the careers world of what are people going to say when you've left the room, and talking about making that impression, and actually you know, putting that in a wider life sense, is actually what are they going to say when we've properly left the building, you know, when that's it, you know, what impression are we going to leave? And that's a really nice grounding thing to go back to, because we can use that every day. We can use that over years. We can use that, you know, as our personal identity, and then fit that into our professional identity. Oh, good stuff.
Yeah,
Ruth.
it's a really, really good book. It talks about you have to be honest with yourself with where you are now in that particular account, as it were. So, like marriage, where are you now with that marriage, and what's your envisioned future of that marriage, or whatever it is that you're doing. And sometimes that can be quite, oh God, you know, when you sit and think about being honest with yourself where you are now and where you want to be.
Well, as my good old daddy always says, life's not a dress rehearsal. So if it's a problem, you got to get on and fix it, haven't you? Because we're only here once.
Yeah.
Julia, it's been amazing having you on. And we could definitely just sit and chat for ages. I hope that's been really helpful for people to think about their professional identity, link that into purpose. If you didn't see our crowdcast last week about purpose, you can catch that back up. That's all in our catalogue of events that we've done over the past 10 months, Charlotte, would you believe?
Oh, I know.
Wow, brilliant. You guys are doing a cracking job.
Thanks, lovely. Next week we're in February. February's gone. So as our new setup is the start of the month, we start with a 45-minute session. So we're back next Thursday. We're on a panel and we're talking about understanding our own work ethics and our behaviours, and how, once we understand those, how do we communicate those with others? How do they affect us in our work, in our career, and the importance of this work ethic, behaviour, communication. It's quite a big topic. Hence, we've got 45 minutes. We'll have 2 guests with us. We will showcase those to you over the next couple of days. But Julia, it's been brilliant. Once again, I'm off to, well, I'm going to see whether I can get up and do a sunrise thing. That's me saying it out loud now means I've got to commit to it.
It's heard it recorded.
And I think I might write my own eulogy as well. So that'll be interesting.
Julia, thank you.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure. Great to see some familiar names in the community. That's cool.
Yeah. Lovely to see you. Well, everybody. Take care. Bye. Bye.
See you.